Hi, my name's Penny, and as usual, I'm here to talk about some bookish things. Specifically today, I'm going to do a bookshelf tour and show you through my rainbow bookshelf. Now, to be honest, I'm really only happy with the top shelf, which is actually rainbow, and then the rest is a bit of a mess. So let me know, what's your opinions on rainbow bookshelves? Do you think this is a mess? Because I kind of think it's a mess. Anyway, I'm going to take you through it, not book by book, but each little cube I might tell you which book is my favorite and which one I'm the most excited to read. And I don't know, we'll just have a look and see what we can see. I would also really like you to tell me if you see any books that I haven't read yet that you think I really should, then let me know and I can prioritize reading them. Because I have too many unread books, although less than I used to have, but still too many. And now that I've mixed my unread with my read all into one set of shelves, sometimes it's hard to remember which books I still need to get to. Anyway, let's look at the shelves. So I'm going to start by just quickly taking you along the top, which is not quite as bookish. I have these weird triangles that the orange one always falls off. And my old work used to have these crazy triangles all over the wall, and then they decided to get rid of it, and I stole a rainbow's worth of them. I also have ponies everywhere, as you'll see. I have the Lock and Key Small Worlds graphic novel. I would love to have more of that series. Also have my tarot cards. I used to work somewhere where they did like a little portrait of you when you started working there, and that's where that picture comes from. That's me reading A Dark, Dark Tale, which was one of my favorite books when I was a kid. This is also from my childhood. This used to be at my nana's house, and he's a bit broken, but he jumps out kind of like that. We'll leave him for now because I need two hands to fix him. And he's kind of cute. This Tea Dragon Society needs to go back to my sister, and then I'll probably pull another book out over there. I kind of tried to keep the rainbow along the top here too, so we kind of got red, yellow, green, blue, purple. I tried. So then I've also got my Buffy graphic novels. I only have a few of them. Honestly, they're quite expensive and the series got less good, so I didn't really want to invest in any more, but I do really love the covers of the ones that I have. I also have my bookmarks up here, and now that I'm looking up here, I also have quite a bit of dust. Might need to fix that. So I've got some more ponies. I've got this neighborhood watch sign that I stole when I was a drunken teenager. And then I've got my Monster High doll. She's like a mermaid ghost, which is cool. And my sand timer. And also, this guy's from my childhood as well. Hang on, I'll see if I can make him go. Oh, I can't really show you and do that at the same time. Anyway, Pink Panther, one of my favorites as a kid, so he gets to hang out up there. So my bookshelves are made up of these cubes just because it is the absolute cheapest kind of bookshelves that you can have. So I've got my V.E. Schwab graphic novel, another bit of V.E. Schwab over here. I really liked the Diabolic series. I just read The Magic Misfits by Neil Patrick Harris recently. Magic Binds is part of the Kate Daniels series, and that's one of my favorite series. I've also got this little point thriller, The Fire. I also have another one of the series somewhere, but I'm missing The Fog, which really annoys me. So this is a shelf that would be really hard for me to pick a favorite from because so many of these are actually my favorites. Possibly I would pick Wolf by Wolf by Ryan Groudon just because this is a story about this girl trying to kill Hitler, and that ending was just spectacular. In terms of which book I want to read the most from this, I've actually read most of these books. I think the only one I haven't read on this shelf is Insignia by S.J. Kincaid. So S.J. Kincaid is the same author as The Diabolic. And I got this book for like $2 in a bargain bin, as well as the other two books in the series, and I know that they're very highly rated on Goodreads. I don't know much about them other than it's some kind of a science fiction hacker story. I don't know, but I'm excited to get to that series at some point. Too many books. Right, then our orange section. So I would say my favorite book from this section is Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. I just really love dark, twisty, time loop, multiverse type stuff. I'm mostly excited about reading All the Crooked Saints by Maggie Stiefvater, although I have actually tried to listen to the audiobook and I couldn't quite get into it, so I'm really hoping that at some point I'll pick up the physical book and like it a lot more. I have been putting off continuing the Dragons of Pern series by Anne McCaffrey, and I do also have this arc here of The Mermaid and Mrs. Hancock, which was a very strange story. Very strange, but I did really like the mermaids in it. And of course we have Applejack. Don't forget Applejack. Okay, so then we have the yellowy green shelf. Actually very few yellow books, which is something I'm a bit sad about. Yellow doesn't seem to be used enough. We also have here, obviously here we have Fiona from Adventure Time, and we have a couple of little Monster High dolls. So my favorites from the shelf would obviously be Magic Shifts from the Kate Daniels series. I also really like The Last Unicorn by Petey S. Beagle. So this is the book that the movie is based on, and the book really captures the same feeling, so I recommend that. A couple of books here by Philippa Ballantyne that I really love. Some good books there. In terms of ones that I am excited to read on this one, I mean, I haven't read Small Steps, Memoirs of a Teenage Amnesiac, or Catalyst. This is that same series I was talking about before, so I guess that's the one that I'm the most excited to read. I do really want to reread Weather Child by Philippa Ballantyne at some point, because it is set in New Zealand, and I read it before and I really loved it, but I kind of forgotten it. Fiona, keep on your feet. So the next shelf is this little bluey green, greeny blue section. Of course we've got Cyrus here, hard at work. These are my business cards from when I used to work at Serato, so Tweak It, Smash It, Blend It. I also have a collection of different business cards in there because the company kind of had this company poem, and you could pick a line from it to put on your business card, which was cool. So at some point I need to reread these Thomas Covenant Chronicles that I have here, but that is massive, so I'm not super excited about it. I think the only book on this shelf other than that I haven't read is Sky Dragons by Anne McCaffrey and Todd McCaffrey, so that's again continuing the Dragons of Pern series. Who knows when I'll get to that. I mean, probably my favorite on here is Heiress of Fear, which was a book that I kind of inherited from my mother when I was younger. It's just kind of this gothic fantasy romance where she discovers she's the heir and has to go running through the night. I do also need to give the rest of the Rebel of the Sands series a go at some point as well. Okay, so here we have my darker blue shelves. We have, of course, Mabel from Animal Crossing, and also my beautiful sandstone that has a bunch of stars inside it. I still don't really like the look, overall of this blue gradient, but never mind. In terms of favorites, it would definitely be a toss-up between Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. That is a beautiful cover, for starters. And I also really liked Big Little Lies by Leah Moriarty, which surprised me at the time. I was not expecting to like it, but I really loved it. One day I would love to get to the third book of the Exiles of Ambria series by Melanie Rawn, but it's not written yet, and after 17 years, I'm not confident it ever will be, which is a bit sad. I'm also very intimidated by this The Gathering Storm by Kate Elliott, which I think is the 5th book in the Crown of Stars series that I've started reading. I'm only on the 2nd book so far. And the 2nd book is nowhere near that book. In fact, the 2nd book's on the next shelf, so let's have a look. Okay, so this is our purpley pink shelf. We've got some beautiful Mermicornos from Tokidoki, some more little My Little Ponies. Oh, and these, I forget what are these called again? Anyway, I've got a bunch of these when I at some point accidentally bought a lot of them and almost got addicted. So again, we've got another Dragons of Pern book that I haven't read. I also haven't read this Memory Keeper's Daughter that my sister gave me. And this is another book from that Crown of Stars series, as well as this is the 2nd one, which I've just read. Obviously, I think my favorite on this shelf would be Blue Lily Lily Blue from the Raven Cycle series. It's also an absolutely beautiful cover and a really beautiful spine, one of the most beautiful spines on my whole shelves. I would also at some point really like to read this Perseus Spur series. It's like a science fiction. It's more of a fantasy, science fiction fantasy by Julian May. I can't really show it to you. Oh, goodbye, Momokono. So I really want to, I read that once before, but then I never continued the series. So at some point when I feel like I can continue the series, I'd really like to pick that up. Okay, so then now we're on the next row. This section is ones that are kind of like darker spines, but I still have tried to include ones that are reddish at this end and then through yellow, green, blue, purple. It's not the best rainbow, but I tried. So obviously we've got a couple more Kate Daniels books here, so they are my favorites. It's my favorite series. I also really liked the Cinder series. What are they called? The Lunar Chronicles. I really liked that series and I need to get some more for my collection so I can have the whole series. At some point I really want to read The Art of War by Sun Tzu. Really this should be on my non-fiction shelves, but I'm not even going to talk about them today. If you want me to, I can, but it's much more of a mess than my fiction shelves. I also have this book, The Murder Complex by Lindsay Cummings, that I picked up recently at a book fair, so I'm interested to read that at some point. Lindsay Cummings being the co-author of the Zenith series with Sasha Alsberg, who is quite a well-known booktuber. And this month I am reading the first book in this Chinese Cinderella series, so I'll be wanting to continue with this one at some point as well. I don't know much about this one, this Yamada Monogatari Demon Hunter story. So if anyone knows about this and knows whether it's worth reading, please let me know. Okay, on to orangey, yellowy, dark spines. Of course, we've got Fluttershy. I've got a couple more of that Crown of Stars series. This is actually the editions that I wish I had the whole series in, because I think the art and just the style is much more beautiful. But you can't always get what you want. Also, I have this Storm Rising. It's the same kind of design, I think even the same artist. Both of these are all Adore books. This is part of the Storms trilogy by Mercedes Lackey, which is part of that bigger Valdemar series. At some point I want to reread it, but I'm kind of scared because it was my favorite book series as a teen, and I'm afraid it's going to not hold up. But anyway, I recently read Holes by Louis Sacha. I think actually my sister's going to want this back, which is going to leave a gap in my shelves. But I mean, I'm constantly rearranging these for different reasons. I have these books. I forget what this series is called. The Night Huntress series. I have a few from this series that I picked up all at this single book fair. Mainly just because Janine Frost is friends with Ilona Andrews, who writes the Kate Daniels series, which is one of my favorite series. But honestly don't know whether I'll like it or not. I mean, this one's got a cat on it, so that's a good sign. If you've read this series, let me know. Is it worth reading? Is it good? And I have The Wise Man's Fear from Patrick Rothfuss, which on the shelf is probably my favorite book of the shelf. Okay, then we have these kind of like, I have more like dark books with kind of yellowy orangey bits than actual yellow books. Anyway, we've got a few of these Christopher Pike books, Christopher Pike being one of my favorite authors as a teen, although the ones I've reread haven't held up at all, which is sad. I have the first book of the Kate Daniels series here. That cover is the worst of all of them. I do have Libromancer here by Jim C. Hines, but I haven't heard good things about it so far, so don't know when I'll pick that up. I did really like American Gods. And I honestly don't remember if I've read Four Past Midnight anymore. So I guess at some point I'll have to reread it and see if it seems familiar. I think the one I'm the most excited about reading on this shelf is The Dark Vault by Victoria Schwab. So this is like 2 books bound up, The Archive and The Unbound. I bought it mainly because it's a beautiful cover, but I do really want to read it. I should be participating in Schwab Timber, but of course I'm not that organized. I think, yeah, the main ones I haven't read on this shelf is this one and this one. I really like this series. It's a really funny series. If you want funny fantasy, then I really recommend The Keeper's Chronicles. This is the second book. It's got a talking cat. It's amazing. I love it. Okay, then what color is even going on these shelves? Green, sort of. We've also got, of course, Rosalina, who I love, but let's move her out of the way. So we've got a couple more of these Night Huntress books here. Another one from the Storms trilogy. This is the problem with doing a shelves kind of ramble, is everything ends up all over the place. I do really recommend The Time Traveler's Wife by Audrey Niffenegger, especially if you like time travel. It's a more contemporary time travel book rather than a sci-fi or fantastical one, so it's a good one to read if that's something you'd prefer. So the main ones I have to read on this shelf is these Night Huntress ones and also The Girl on the Train. I mainly picked this up because I just constantly kept seeing it in book fairs and I got sick of making the decision about whether I should buy it or not, so I just bought it, so I no longer have to make the decision. Oh, and I do still need to read Paper Towns by John Green. I still haven't gotten to that either. I know, John Green's okay, but he's not my favorite as an author. He's an okay person, you know? Okay, so then we have these darker blue dark books. I also have this really cute guy. I forget his name, but he's a Tokidoki guy. He's got this little scythe on his back. He's so cute. And I have this other gem that I bought during the Book Junkie trials when I went to visit Glimmer. So what have we got on this shelf? I mean, I just got The Calculating Stars, so I am excited to read that. We've got a couple more. We got another Christopher Pike book, Chain Letter. I love that as a teen, but I'm so scared to reread it. I've also got The Snow, which is the last book in the Fog series. I wish I could find the Fog in this edition, honestly. That would be a dream come true. I also really like The Loneliest Girl in the Universe. It wasn't what I was expecting, but it surprised me, and I do recommend it just so that I can hear your reaction about it. The Host, I've recently discovered a lot of people don't even know about The Host by Stephanie Meyer. They only know about Twilight. The Host is her sci-fi book, and if you like Twilight, you should really read The Host. So I actually think I've read all of the books on this shelf except for this one, so this is definitely our priority on this shelf. Okay, then this shelf, so something's missing here and I don't know what it is. It must be something that's currently on my TBR, I guess. Another couple of these guys. I got my Mistborn books, obviously I love the Mistborn trilogy. Unfettered I really need to get to. I almost unhauled it at one point, but then I found out it was signed. I don't normally read a lot of short story anthologies, but there are a lot of great authors on that one, so I will pick it up at some point. This is the first book in that Keeper's Chronicles I just had before. Talking Cats, hilarious. Definitely recommend it. So the only book I haven't read other than this on this shelf is this one, which is the second book in the Ministry of Peculiar Affairs. I do have the first book on my TBR for this month, so I'll be able to read this soon. Hopefully I will like the first book and not be massively disappointed. Okay, so now we have even darker books that have colours on them in the rainbow. So I have my beautiful V.E. Schwab editions down here. They're just quite lovely. Also the Raven Boys. I really think all the books in that series are just beautiful. So for this shelf, the ones that I need to read is Wizard of the Grove, which I'm quite excited about. Also Marcus Zuzak's The Messenger, which I'm not super excited about because although it's kind of blasphemy to say, I didn't really like The Book Thief. I also need to read Arrival, which is some kind of alien science fiction, and The Time Machine by H.G. Wells. However, I've not read The Time Machine given how much I like time travel, so I need to read that as well. Then somehow I have a brown shelf. I do have this deer statue thing. I had this since I was a really little kid and I'm always afraid it's going to get broken and then I'm going to cry forever. So we'll put that over there where it's safe. So I have a couple of editions here of Elantris, which is another Brandon Sanderson that I really love. This one is actually signed, but it's kind of ugly and I'd rather read the paperback. So I still have both editions. Don't know what we're going to do there. It seems a bit ridiculous, but that's what I've got. We also have another book from the Kate Daniels series, which I love. And a couple of books from this Pip Ballantyne series. I think the series was called The Book of the Order. I did really love that series. I would love to reread it at some point. Just a kind of a dark steampunk paranormal fantasy. It's good. I also really love Madigan's Quest. I read that recently. Madigan's Quest by Margaret Mahy. This is Rose McIver, if you don't recognize her. Definitely recommend this book. So I actually think I've read all of these except for this one, Black Trillium. Well, no, I have read this in high school, which was a long time ago for me, and I want to reread it at some point. So it's by Marion Zimmer Bradley, Julian May, and Andre Norton, who are quite classic fantasy authors of their time. And I do have here Swordbound, which was the 7th book in the Tiger and Dell series, which I really like, and there's some more books coming up from that series. Okay, then the brown books spilled over into this section. So I don't know when I'm going to get to, oh, this is tight, this section. The Golden Key by Melanie Rowan, Jennifer Roberson, and Kate Elliott, all authors that I love, but whoa, that's going to be a dense fantasy. You know what, I'm not putting that back in now until I've showed you some more of these books. So we got and kind of a spin-off book from the Kate Daniels series about Andrea. I really loved this White Cat series. I honestly bought this book purely because it had a cat on the cover. At the time I didn't even really know who Holly Black was, except very vaguely, but I really enjoyed this series. I'm a bit sad that when I bought the 3rd book, and I'm not sure where the other one is, oh, it was way up the top, but I bought the 2nd and 3rd book in the series, but they're not the same size, even though it's the same style. So these are the other Tiger and Dell books that I've got. I've kind of got bind-ups of 2 books together. There's another one somewhere. I really like The Return of Nightfall, and that's another one from that Book of the Order series. So I've read all of these books except for this monster. This shelf is honestly such a mess of random colours. Doesn't fit with the whole rainbow idea at all, but some books are just too messy with their colours. So we've got another Night Huntress book. I also really want to read this Blood Price series by Tanya Huff at some point, but somehow I never seem to get to it. I would also really like to read my Sylvia Plath poetry and this book by Nnedi Okorafor. I've had this for a long time, and it was only once I read Binti that I realized I might actually really like this, although again I think it's short stories, which just puts me off a little bit for some reason. This is another book that I inherited from my mum. It's just such a cool cover. So most of these I haven't read. The only ones I've read is this one and this one and these 2. This one I've read, but I want to reread it at some point. It's part of the Saga of the Exiles by Julian May. It's an amazing series with weird time loops, crazy fantasy series, so I want to read that. I also have Glass Sword. So somewhere I have the 1st book in this series. I haven't even started reading it, but I have it, and it is a pretty book, so at least it's got that, and it kind of goes good with Grumpy in terms of colour scheme. And another mess colour section. So what do we have here? I've got the Jaran books by Kate Elliott. I should put them all together. So it's the 1st one and the 2nd one. I've actually read the 2nd one, but not the 1st one, because somehow I ended up with the 2nd book, and when I was younger I read it not even realizing it was the 2nd book. I am getting to the 1st volume of this Avril Lavigne graphic novel series that I found this month, so hopefully then I'll get to number 2. Got another Kate Daniels book. This is probably my favorite on this shelf. Another Night Huntress book. I don't really know much about this book, so if you know anything about Death and Resurrection by R.A. McAvoy and whether it's any good, then do let me know. I think on this shelf the ones that I'm most excited about reading would be Anansi Boys, which I haven't read, and also I need to get through some more of Percy Jackson so I can read this one, but I really only have this one and the 1st book in the series, so I don't really know. I might just get stuck waiting until I can find some more of the series at a book fair. We'll see what happens. Okay, then this is kind of like a pale pink shelf. So we do have my lion that I drew as part of the reading rush. So also in here I have 3 books from this Julian May series. This is the Galactic Maloo series, which links into that other trilogy that I was talking about before with the fantasy time loops, and it's just got all sorts of people with like different psychic abilities. The Legend of Nightfall is really cool. He's got like the ability to shift his weight and uses it with for really cool fighting and stuff. We got another Tiger and Dell book. I've got The Changeover by Margaret Mahy, which is really kind of creepy, middle grade young adult witch book by a New Zealand author. I think on this one, these are the two that I really need to read. So Legend by Marie Lu, which I'm somewhat concerned about reading so far after all the hype. I may have just missed that train, but we might try and read it at some point. And at some point, I would love to read Tales of Suspense by Edgar Allan Poe, although I admit I mostly bought this book just because I thought it looked cool. Okay, so from here, things start to get pretty messy. I've got a bunch of like children's books and graphic novels all kind of squished into here. It's not really very good or very accessible. I do really love Bee and Puppy Cat. Also The 11th Hour. If you haven't read The 11th Hour, I'd really recommend it, especially great for kids, but personally I still enjoy it as an adult. So then we have a few bookshelves just with like white books in them. We also have Ugly Bear here that my mum made, and I don't think he deserves the name Ugly Bear, do you? So I love My Vicious, of course, beautiful cover, and The Savage Song. Beyond Ragnarok is another one of these epic fantasies that I've got that I'm too scared to pick up. And here's Red Queen, which I was talking about before. And I also have Fahrenheit 451, which is a classic. So it's just these two I need to read. Then we have one of my favorite My Little Ponies, Portobello, and she also has a silly hat, but we don't wear that. So books-wise on this shelf, I mean, I've got some more of these Dragons of Pern books that I'm supposed to be reading. And another beautiful Raven Cycle book. This is my favorite book of the series. And another Kate Daniels book. Also a short Brandon Sanderson book. So if you're looking for a short Brandon Sanderson book to read, then you could try Snapshot. This is a book that I got from my uncle. It's a book that he had from when he was a kid. I also had Black Beauty. This edition of Black Beauty is from when I was a kid and I really liked horses. This book is by a New Zealand author, quite a good little series. This I haven't read, it's by Megan Hobb. So I think it's another one of those short story anthologies though, which again puts me off. And this Pixel Juice keeps getting on my TBR and then never getting read. Poor book. Okay, this Panda Bear is from when I was a very little kid, so he's had a bit of a hard life, but he's here. So the books behind here, The Little White Horse is another one that is from my childhood. Weirdly, I feel like most of the books at the top in the rainbow section are from like more recently, but it seems like all the older books have either darker or lighter spines. It's interesting. I do really like What Happened to Amy, which is another one of these books that I inherited from my mum. It's a really good little story, actually. So on this shelf, I mainly just need to read these two, so I'd really like to read the whole of the Oz series at some point. And this is a New Zealand series that I want to get into. Then from here, there's no more books. So this is just random stuff that I use sometime. There's all my like vitamins and stuff. Then we've got photo albums, some DVDs I'm supposed to be putting together for my mum, along with Pushina corn, a bunch of notebooks that I haven't used and don't really need. He's ended up down here. But this is just like books that I've read. Those ones I need to give back to my brother or work out what we're doing with Death Note. This is my cube of books that I'm hoping to read this month. And these are like other books that I probably should be reading. Then I've got kind of like a couple of empty ones. And then a bunch of books that I'm supposed to be kind of unhauling. But I haven't really found them a new home yet. So those were all my shelves. I hope you enjoyed the tour. As I said, I would love to know which books you noticed on there that you think I should read, or you want to know what I thought about them. Otherwise, I'm sure that this video was way too long, so thank you for hanging around and just having a look at my shelves. Do you think there's a better way that I could organize them? I used to just have them alphabetical by author, but then I wanted the pretty rainbow. Anyway, once again, thanks for watching. I hope you're having a wonderful day, and I will see you next time.